They thought that he was like some Super Bowl champion. He couldn't even get through his high school year. This guy was one of the biggest top, quarterbacks in the country. And this guy, he was getting outplayed by his backup. So I don't want to hear about Spencer Rattler. He is an idiot. That's all I'm going to say about that.
That was being facetious, but
I know. I know you wanted to bring that up. I know.
I couldn't resist. He did look absolutely horrible last week. So I don't really see the Saints doing anything until Carr comes back. And even when he does come back, that's the story with Carr the last bunch of years. He looks great until he starts getting banged up, and then he's just not that same guy he was early in the season. And I do worry that the Saints are going down that same road that the Raiders went down for a bunch of years.
Well, there's a whole bunch of quarterbacks coming out in this draft, so somebody's going to get somebody.
There's two that is quality, and the rest of them is.
Who? I'm just wondering who.
What do you mean who?
Who do you think?
Texas is what was the kid?
Quinn Ewers.
Quinn Ewers, who's not having. Obviously, he's injury prone, but he's good. And Shedeur Sanders.
I'm just asking,
and Shedeur Sanders.
Isn't he getting benched for Manning, the Manning kid?
He did last.
Yeah, he got. Yes, he did
I thought moving forward. That's what I thought.
Well, Manning.
No, they didn't. No, they said Ewers will start this week.
Yeah, okay. It doesn't matter. Manning,
I'm just asking. You don't think the kid Cam Ward from Miami's pretty good?
Not for the NFL.
And Milroe from Alabama. I'm just asking.
He's streaky.
I don't trust Alabama quarterbacks, and I don't trust.
Well,
Miami
I agree on the Alabama thing, but this could be the first kid in a long time coming out of the U that could be proven for the NFL because it's been a while since they had anybody worthy come out of the U.
His name isn't Daniel Jones. I'll take him.
Oh, Daniel's. I'm done with you, Giant fans. Anyways, John,
I don't know why they didn't leave him like wherever he's left. Like just, I have no idea. The guy should have never been drafted.
Jabba, we got our first guest. We're going to go to a quick break. I hope you're ready. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, he's been on our show before. He's a real estate agent. He's doing wonders over there in Arizona. We will be talking to former Canucks, Hurricanes, Flames, and Devils goaltender, Eddie Lack.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Mr. Speedy Petey, and you know him as a Yankee relief pitcher, Mr. Jabba Chamberlain, our special guest in the studio, my old partner and a good friend, Mikey C. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all those shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey and Jabba Chamberlain every single Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him as the Lackmeister. We know him as Eddie Lack. What's up, Eddie?
What's up, boys? How are you?
Every time I see you, every time we interview you, you're in your car. I mean, what are you, jumping from one house to the other?
That is pretty much what I'm doing. This is what my job is now. I'm just from house to house, and I got just get done with the showing, and I got one more house to check up on my project before I get to go home. So yeah.
So what is it? What is it like? Okay, you're a former NHL goaltender, and you're hanging out. You're going out to one of those houses, and they're asking you, what made you become a real estate agent? You'd be like, well, after my career, and they'd be like, what did you used to do? Oh, I was just an NHL goaltender. How does that work, man? Do you sign any autographs when you're selling your house?
No, it's kind of like that, and I just want their signatures on the purchase contract, right? That's all I want. So, no, it's. I always say if I was better at stopping pucks, I wouldn't have to be here. But yeah, now I'm in the rat race with everyone else.
Well, hold on one second. You were playing in the NHL for at least 5 years. So to say that if you were good at stopping pucks, you were pretty damn good, because how many goalies make it to the NHL? So you had to be somewhat good, Eddie. So you're selling yourself, man. You're selling yourself. I'm trying to help you here. As everybody knows,
I know, but I'm Swedish, I'm a humble.
Listen, Eddie, I had faith in you in Vancouver.
Swedish guy,
I had faith in you in Vancouver, and then I have no idea what happened.
Yeah, exactly. That is pretty much where everyone is. Like, I had 2 good years in Vancouver, and then I went to Carolina when no one watched the Hurricanes, because it was like a young rebuild and everything, right? And then I bounced around a little bit between Calgary and Jersey before I retired.
Speaking of Swedish goaltenders, there's one that's pretty good from Sweden that happened to be Henrik Lundqvist.
Oh, the Queen?
Yeah, he was pretty good. Even
Me,
just to get there, it's remarkable.
me and Hank won a world championship together for Sweden, so that was fun.
He
Yeah,
lived right above me in the city,
Oh yeah? Oh cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
so we got to know each other pretty well.
Did you share each other's hats? I mean, because he wears some of the ugliest hats I've ever seen.
First of all, why would he ever wear a hat? His
With that
hair is the
hair?
greatest hair ever.
And,
We would go up.
and
His hair would be
he
perfectly
makes
coiffed.
advertisement for Head and Shoulders.
It's unbelievable.
I thought that was Troy Polamalu. But
Him too.
He's got a quaff, let me tell you. I have that. By the way, you could go and check out Henrik Lundqvist's documentary. It's a pretty good documentary about, his heart surgery and everything, about, what happened to him. And it is sensational. I am not a Ranger fan, but I can't take away the greatness of what Henrik Lundqvist was as a goaltender in the NHL. One of the greatest goaltenders of this era and one of the greatest goaltenders of all time. So there's no question that he was. But let's get into it, Eddie. I mean, the season starts. I mean, who scares you right now in the NHL? What team right now, as far as what you have watched so far this season, early this season, you think has a chance to win a Stanley Cup?
I mean, so far, the only undefeated team is the Winnipeg Jets, right? I mean, they're looking really good. Are they looking a little bit too good, a little bit too early? Probably. Like, do I think they're going to be up there when it's time to crown the champions? I don't think so. Other than that, I mean, you look at like Edmonton and Colorado, both those
Take that off.
teams had slow starts and everything, right? But they still have all the pieces, right? And if they can just put it together, most people have Edmonton, right, as their Stanley Cup favorite, and I would have to agree with that. I think that the Rangers are looking good. I think the Devils are looking good as well. They have a new coach with a new system, but I thought that their offseason was phenomenal with the players that they traded for and signed. So those are the teams that I think look best so far.
So a lot has been made about the Igor Shesterkin contract situation. He wants $12 million a year. And we've seen a lot of goaltenders, once they get the double digits, they have injury issues. If you were the Rangers, would you pay him that or would you trade him?
I mean, I
could be
saw
in the
an interview with Rupp the other day, and he said I would pay him 11.5, but that's it, and that's kind of where I am. Like, I mean, is he worth it? Like, probably yes. I mean, he's showed it throughout his career and everything here that like he should be the highest paid goalie and everything, right? But as a goalie, don't you want your team to have a little bit of extra money to build a team around you too? And that team is gonna make you look better too, right? So I mean, I don't think I would give him 12, but if that's what it takes, like, sure. I mean, they're not gonna find a better goalie out there, and like, do you trade the best goalie in the league? Like, no. Like, you make it work somehow. But if I was him, I mean, I would take a little bit less to make sure that they're competitive too, because those guys in front of you is like what gonna make you look good as well, you know?
Java, you're muted.
Go ahead, Java.
Oh, I thought you guys were going to jump in. No, I think when you got somebody to protect you and going into the game, it's kind of the Tom Brady effect. He took less money to have the guys make sure to cover his butt, and I think you make a great point in that fact. You take a little less because when you got guys in front of you laying out and taking one off the ribs, and then you just got to buy dinner that night. So it's it's still
Yep.
all good. But yeah, I think that's a huge aspect of it. Obviously, he should be, the highest paid, but I think also too he understands how important it is to have good defensemen and guys that can score goals and keep them, with the ability to win.
Jabba, you mentioned dinner. Eddie Lack is the biggest NHL taco enthusiast.
That's right, he is.
Don't hate it.
Well, but Eddie, you have to remember that Jabba is living in Nebraska, so I don't know how good the tacos are over there. I don't think they're New York style. That's for damn sure.
Probably not very good. Yeah.
We got nothing. We've got a couple of good things, but no,
What is
Good
the
burger?
good food in Nebraska?
corn. I mean,
You're
it really is
selling
good.
me on it. God, I want to go visit now.
Oh, and then Husker football. It's fun with 90,000 people screaming.
Yep.
Are they all eating corn?
Well, it's at tailgates. You better believe it.
Yeah, that's super inevitable.
And you can buy it. You can buy it like the farmers come into the gas stations and they sell it out the back of their truck with like watermelon, tomatoes. It's great. I'm really selling us, right? I'm selling it right now.
Yeah, I want
Gas
to go to
station
Nebraska.
tomatoes.
Place to go.
Gas station tomatoes. I'm sold.
Hey, it's from a farm. They just sell it out of their truck. They just park in the corner.
Jabba, you have to make sure there's some empty houses for Eddie to be able to negotiate people to come to Nebraska. He gets some real
I can
estate.
do that. The housing market here is crazy.
Really?
Oh, we have neighborhoods going up houses going up left and right. It's nuts.
Eddie, you got to go over there and talk to Jabba. He'll hook you up.
I love it. I get my license over there.
Oh yeah,
Get
probably
all the corn
doesn't
you
transfer.
I can see Jabba in a cornfield. He's like, "Yo, Eddie, come over here. I want to show you the biggest effing corn I've seen over here." I can see it. Look at this.
We'll
big
do like
Jabba.
the coolest Instagram video, just you and I, to like sell Nebraska
please.
in the cornfields.
Oh, we could definitely do. I know a bunch of people selling them too, so we could make it happen.
We'll have
you
like
go.
a slow-mo video running through the cornfield with like a Celine Dion song playing or something. Like, yeah, that'd be great.
Perfect. What's my commission?
I'll give you a 25% referral fee. That'd be great.
Okay, I'll take it.
We are talking to former Canucks, Hurricanes, Flames, and Devils goaltender Eddie Lack. Eddie Lack is now a real estate agent and a goalie coach right now in Arizona. What's going on this year? I mean, where is your team at? Are they a championship contender?
This is actually the first year that I'm not doing it because I'm so busy
Really?
with everything else. So,
Oh, come on, Eddie. What's going on?
But I went to the home opener. I still talk to all the guys on the team and everything. So they're 2-1-2, I think, to start the season. So a decent start. They're playing really good teams this year, right? So it's fun to see. What else can I say? We have this Potter kid, which is predicted to go really, really high in the draft. We got some good goaltending, and now when we don't have the Coyotes in town anymore, ASU hockey is the biggest ticket in town, right? So the barn is packed every night, and yeah, it's a great atmosphere.
Yeah,
Do you-
it's a bomb.
Do you like the new Utah logo?
Not really.
Be honest now,
I-
Eddie. Be honest now.
I like think that it's a little bit too basic for me. I think they could have gone like with the Jedi or something and made like a really cool one. But yeah, the Utah Hockey Club like it works. But I think they're gonna, and I hope they're gonna develop it a little bit moving forward.
Eddie, there's a fan that has a question for you, and
Okay.
he asked me to ask you. He said, "Ask Eddie. Give your thoughts, Eddie, on Jacob Trouba as the Rangers captain."
And I know they were trying to trade him and everything this summer, but I also know that he played like extremely hurt and everything by the end of last year. I mean, I see no point in switching your captain up and everything. Do I think that he is like the most gentleman captain out there? No, he freaking kills guys on the ice like every single night. But that's kind of his role, and like he embraces it, and he does it well. So I don't see like any issues with it.
Eddie, I got a question. So we had a kid drafted from Lincoln, Rutger McGorty. The Jets drafted him, and then they got traded to Pittsburgh and signed a 3-year entry level deal. What does
Yeah.
that actually mean as far as like contractually wise, and how it works as an entry level deal?
So an entry level deal in the NHL is two-way deal. So if you get to play in the minors, you have a minor league salary, which I don't know exactly where it's at now. Where I played, it was like 75K a year, I think. And if you play in the NHL, you get an NHL salary, which is between league minimum, which is like 750 now, up to I think the max on an entry level deal that you can get before bonuses is 1,200,000 or something. I believe that it is, and then the guys that play a lot and they score a lot of points, like you obviously have like a lot of bonuses and everything that you can hit. But that is like the max base salary that you can make in the NHL. But if you play in the minors, you make like 1/10 of that.
Okay.
So my last question, Eddie, a very big tragedy happened at the start of the year with Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew as well. I know you played with him briefly in Calgary. You played against him in Vancouver. What was he like on and off the ice?
I mean, it's like still hard for me to wrap my head around it. I feel like we lived in the same building in Calgary, and we sat next to each other in like the locker room and everything. I was just there for like a short time, but I just like got to know what an amazing guy he is, and like always a smile on his face, and like just like happy to be there, you know, and just like such a tragic event, and to see everything like with his kids to grow up without a dad, and like his wife is pregnant with their third and everything. I mean, it's heartbreaking, and I don't really know like what else to like say, but like he was one of my favorite guys that I ever played with, even though it was really short.
Eddie, I know that's it's horrible losing a friend, a person that you looked up to, a person that you respect more than anything. So I know what it's like to lose a friend. I lost a friend on a motorcycle. I was like 25 feet in front of me, and somebody back-ended him and ran over his head, and it was a horrible thing to watch, and to see something like that, and to lose somebody close like that, and you built a relationship and good rapport with it's horrible, especially a drunk driver who just ran him and his brother over. It was just a horrible story. It really is. And I think it was on a bicycle too. It wasn't even on a motorcycle.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like he worked his whole life to get up to this point, and he finally made it, and like he had his family and everything, and like to not be able to like experience his like kids growing up and everything, and his kids to grow up without a dad and everything. I mean, it's yeah. I like still have a hard time to wrap my head around it, I feel like.
Well, Eddie, we really appreciate the time as always. Keep selling those houses, baby. And if
Let's
you want to
go.
go to the cornfields, my brother.
There we go. I love it. I love it. I
That's
love
perfect.
That's,
Beautiful.
by the way, that's Fish. That's our executive producer doing.
Fish. Good job.
But Eddie, we really appreciate the time, man. Keep up the good work, man. And we'll talk to you soon, buddy. Keep your head up.
Thank you. We'll talk soon, guys. Bye.
Eddie Lack, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic personality and great Johnny Gaudreau story. Johnny Gaudreau, may he rest in peace, him and his brother. I mean, a tragic story in the summertime. They went home to New Jersey to be there for their sister. She was getting married, and the day before she was getting married, a drunk driver hit them, ran them over, and there she went. I mean, that's enough. That's enough to the story that and this guy is going to go to jail for a very long time. That's murder. That's not even manslaughter. That's murder. And it's just a horrible story. Johnny is right now, I think his wife is 8 months pregnant. She's due for her third kid. And Matt, right? His name's
Matthew. Yeah.
Matthew. Matt had 3 kids, I think 3 kids of his own. So, and Matthew was, I think, younger than Johnny.
He was, yeah.
So,
29, I think.
yeah, and Johnny was 31. So Johnny was just in his like second or third year in his big contract, that big contract that he got, and never got a chance to really live his life. So the Gaudreau family, my shout out again goes to the Gaudreau family and Johnny and Matthew. May they rest in peace. Oh man, that was hard. I'm just watching Eddie Lack and seeing his face.
Oh man,
it's horrible. I mean, I just shows you how close he was with Johnny Gaudreau. I mean, I know what it's like to lose a friend, a very close friend like that, and to see somebody just, he's here one day and gone the next. It's just a horrible, horrible thing. I saw my father pass away. I mean, Jabba, we were talking about it today. I mean, I was there when my father was trying to, they were trying to revive my father when he was having a massive heart attack. So I know what it's like to see somebody that you love and they're here today and gone tomorrow. Anyways, when we come back, ladies, I'm going to start crying. I don't want to. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will have our very, very special guest. We've never had him on the show. Very happy to have him. We will be talking to Mets PA announcer Colin Cosell.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy, Petey, and Mr. Jabba Chamberlain. And our special guest in the studio, my pal, my old partner, Mr. Mikey C. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey every single Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. I mean, I'm still kind of shaken up with the whole Johnny Gaudreau story. I mean, that's just, it's horrible. Speedy, why'd you bring that up? You just made the
played with him.
You made the show so sour. I'm sad. All right.
Yeah, I saw him get choked up. I actually had a question I wanted to ask him. I said, forget it. I'm not even going to ask.
I mean, that's horrible. I didn't even want to. Anyway, I don't want to be sad. This guy has never been on the show. We got to be alive for a very special guest. We are now talking to Mets PA announcer Colin Cosell. Colin, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, gentlemen? How are we?
We are good, man. You should be very, very happy. The Mets go to the NLCS. The Mets made a run. They might get Juan Soto next year. They might get Corbin Burns. I mean, who's better than you? And guess what? Your owner actually spent some money.
Yeah, no, it was very, very unexpected. It was a wonderful surprise. I kind of the way I've kind of encapsulated it is, the difference between Memorial Day to Labor Day in what our season was like. I mean, I was there in the booth when we hit rock bottom, when Jorge Lopez threw his glove over the netting, and it just seemed like the bottom had fallen out, and we knew what the next 4 months were going to be like. But then Francisco Lindor thought otherwise. And wow, you had that readily available We didn't
That's our
even
executive
rehearse this.
producer. That's our executive producer. He's the best.
That's really impressive. But yeah, so it was a wild ride. Totally unexpected, and however far we got was however much joy it was going to bring us. And getting to the NLCS was just beyond anyone's expectations. And to be one of the final 3 teams still playing baseball, to be 6 wins away from a world championship was leaps and bounds beyond what we expected. So yeah, no, I mean, it was one of those things where it was just like, you're sad to see it end, but also it's just like, wow, what a season. And I see that across the Mets universe, which is universally, pretty much people are like, the Mets were waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I think that was all of August and September. But the other shoe didn't drop. And I feel like there's a culture change, there's a vibe change. And as you alluded to, our owner is not afraid to spend. David Stearns is a genius. He put together a ragtag group of people who are trying to reinvent themselves around a group of people who are already cemented as the cornerstone of the Mets' future, and it worked. And it was just an incredible season to be a part of. So yeah, I feel I'm fine with it.
What energy do you think Iglesias brought in with with his song and how, he hasn't played in the big leagues in a while. And I was fortunate enough to play with him in Detroit, and he always had that energy. And the one thing I loved about him is he never took a playoff. He always gave you a hard 90 and made it tough on the defense. What do you think leadership from his end and bringing him when you did it spark any asthma? I mean, the concert was dope. I don't care what anybody says. When he did
100%.
the concert, that was awesome.
Yeah.
So where do you think that he helped get that team over the hump in some way, shape, or form?
I think it was this beautiful amalgamation in the month of June. It started with Lindor pulling the team aside, and well, let me backtrack. To your point, it started with us signing him, and I got an email notification from the organization saying, "Hey, we just signed Jose Iglesias. This guy hasn't played Major League Baseball in 2020 since 2022. He's going to be on the team. We're adding depth." Okay, cool. I thought nothing of it. I immediately was just like, I wonder if he's related to Julio Iglesias. Like, that's where my mind goes. And then lo and behold, he is a pop star in his own right. So I wasn't too far off. But then Lindor, pulls everyone in, players only. It's like, guys, let's have fun doing what we do. And also let's hold each other accountable. And I think that's a very important dichotomy that really kind of got everyone fired up. But then when they started using Iglesias, he was getting good at bats. And I think it was after like 40 at bats, he was batting like in the high 300s. And I turned to my spotter, Nick, and I was like, he's really kind of showing something. Like, there's some grit there. And it's all part of that team that I, spoke about before about, David Stearns bringing in people who are trying to reinvent themselves and reinvigorate their careers. And he was one of them. And he just went in there fearless, nothing left to lose. And also just has this incredible personality. It's infectious. And then, post meeting, then the Grimace thing happened. I had the honor and privilege of announcing Grimace up to throw that pitch. And we were like, okay, why is this happening? It's his 50th birthday. Why do we care? It's sponsorship. Okay, that's fine. And then he was like bouncing around the ballpark, and we're like, okay, this is fun. And then we had him like sneaking in behind in plain sight of the pitcher, the opposing pitcher. And he would just like dip in and start waving. And it was hilarious. And the fans caught on to it. And that same game, Iglesias had, a couple big hits as well. We won 10-4 against the Marlins. That was June 12th. And then from there, behind the scenes, what the fans didn't quite realize, beyond the fact that it was Lindor's meeting much more than it was Grimace, was that Iglesias had this song that was infectious and it was positive. And, the entire thing, like the song starts like, I don't need anything if I'm not happy. Those are the opening lyrics. And it was just like, okay, cool. And then of all people on the team to latch onto, it was JD Martinez. And he was just like, yo, this is my jam. Guys need to hear this. And then it became a whole thing, and there was a dance behind it. And then it organically bled into the fans. And then it became the home run song. And then J-Mac started making those signs. And then like, it all happened very organically. But I will say that having someone like Iglesias on the team and what he added in personality, but also in production, was huge. I mean, there were so many moving parts, to your point, Jabba, but he was very quietly a big part of that. And I really hope they re-sign him, because, you need that kind of heart and soul role player, and he can totally do it. The dude was batting 300 all season long.
So you started in 2018 when the Wilpons were still owning the team, and now obviously Steve Cohen since 2020, bringing a different kind of more like family-friendly transformation. The team culture, like you're saying, very different. So what are some of the differences in those experiences? Maybe some of the other experiences, even in their bad seasons, that were fun for you?
It was just a very different vibe. I owe a debt of gratitude to the Wilpons for bringing me on. It was not easy for me. It was not an easy transition for the fans either. Alex Anthony, my predecessor, had been there for over a decade and a half, and he was the voice that carried them from Shea Stadium to Citi Field. So for me, it was very, just kind of keep quiet, stay positive, do your thing, whatever. But it was a very it was a very different approach with the Wilpons. It was very buttoned up. Whereas Steve came in and he's like, yeah, I'm a billionaire, but I'm a self-made billionaire, and I'm also a diehard fan, and I want to bring in championship upon championship. Like, that's going to be my legacy. It's not going to be .72. It's not going to be hedge funds. It's going to be the New York Mets. And he started building up the attention to the past, and getting the Tom Seaver statue and starting to retire numbers and bringing back Old Timers Day. But for the staff as well, it was just a lighter mood. Again, with no disrespect to the Wilpons, and Fred Wilpon was a dear friend of my grandfather's, and so he wrote one of the sweetest letters when my grandfather passed to our family. And so, I will always hold him in the highest regard. However, when Steve Cohen came in, it was just different. It was lighter. It was like, okay, let's have fun. It was kind of that, that old MLB ad campaign they had, just, let the kids play. And that's kind of what he brought with him. Granted, it kind of took a sour turn after last year when there was a bunch of money spent and nothing to show for it. But it was also kind of like, okay, grin and bear it, just bear with us as we figure this out, because he's never owned a team before. We're going to get through this together, and we're going to make sure we have everything we need to be successful, not just now, but for years to come. And so it has been a much lighter mood, throughout the organization, but also a lot more open to creativity, a lot more open to making it fan centric. And this season was huge in terms of being fan centric. You guys have just an unbelievable production team on the fly. By the way, I full disclosure, I'm coming off of like 2 consecutive months of like nonstop action between my like daily life, having an 18-month-old, and the Mets. And I'm dealing with a cold where I was just like, I don't know if I turned to my wife. I was like, I don't know if I could do this. She's just like,
come on, Colin, stop.
I'm like, dude, I am dying right now. I drank an emergency, and to back it up, I've got a cocktail. So I'm just trying to like make sure everything works out here. But yeah, I'm truly impressed by what you guys are pulling together right there. I'm kind of blown away. This is fun. Thanks for having me, man.
We are talking to Mets PA announcer Colin Cosell. And by the way, Colin, we've been following each other on Twitter for a while. And you're a 3-time Emmy Award winner. Everything that you've done, and again, it's kind of special because you're the grandson of Howard Cosell. He's one of the greatest broadcasters. He was the face of broadcasting for so many years. You can ask many different people, including Muhammad Ali, who's now gone, by the way, but he knew Muhammad Ali pretty well. What is it like being the grandson of the great Howard Cosell?
It's great, because the thing is, he's the man who put me in front of a microphone when I was 5 years old. Actually, technically when I was 3 years old, but I don't remember it as well. And I have a picture of it. I'm glad you guys don't have it, because I'm sure you're having it right now. I was at a wedding.
Getting looked up right now.
You can find it on my Facebook. Actually, it's my cover photo. It's a picture of my grandfather holding me with a cigar perilously close to my throat, I will have you know, with me reaching for a microphone. And that picture kind of encapsulates everything about his influence on me. When I was 5, I sat on his lap and I watched him do his radio show from his house in the Hamptons. He had a live line to WABC radio. And I saw this microphone with these headphones. And I was like, what's this all about? And he was like, my grandmother's like, come and check it out. And so I did my first air check, so to speak, with his producer, Eddie. It's just like, whatever this witchcraft is, I am on board. Now, meanwhile, my grandfather had been a lawyer until he was in his late 30s and then decided, hey, I'm going to become a sports broadcaster. And my grandmother stood by him the entire way. And he had to go through absolute hell to finally get to where he was. But his first big break was in 1962. There it is. You guys did it. You are so good. Look at that. Look at how perilously close that burning ember is to my esophagus. My bread and butter is about to be burnt before I can even use it.
He got Jabba happy. Look at the smile on his face.
That's great. I mean, the epitome of what a relationship is and how deep, and just the smile on both of your faces, and like just being a sports fan and getting the opportunity to talk to you and have you share some memories is. I was gonna ask the asterisk question because I was on your website earlier, and I was like, okay, ask when you were 5, and so I was gonna ask that anyways, but you kind of covered it. So
that's what we do in the co-cells. We're reporters by trade. We make sure that every question is covered and you don't have to do anything. But Jabba, by the way, it is a pleasure to be chatting with you as well. And my grandfather was also dear friends with George Steinbrenner. We kind of lived in a split household where it was just like, go New York. Leaned the Mets because 86 was the first New York championship I experienced. But with those midges, man, I felt for you. I was just like, damn it, that's just not fair. So just wanted to throw that out there.
We can say it's something we experienced. We've seen bees, we've seen squirrels, we've seen mascots snap their ankle on four-wheelers. Like, glad to be part of the weird stuff that's happened in the game of baseball, and I get reminded of it all the time. So
I trust me. I get it with the co-cell thing. But what I was going to say was because my background was in theater, in comedy, in voiceovers. I did news radio and local sports broadcasting and everything. But the one parallel my grandfather and I do have, because he was a lawyer and a genius, and I'm just a goofball who loves microphones. In 1962, he got his first big break as a beat reporter for this brand new team in Major League Baseball called the New York Mets. And 56 years later, I got my first big break as an announcer for the very same team. So that's where it all kind of like came around full circle, and where I kind of feel like my grandfather's always on my shoulder. So, but at the end of the day, when people bring him up, it's a source of great pride. It's not everyone gets to say your grandfather is the greatest sports broadcaster of all time. No bias, at all.
He is. And nobody's going to take that away.
Every December 8th, I get a bunch of people reaching out to me and being like, your grandfather told me that John Lennon died. And I turn back to them and I'm like, I hope you also realize that he was telling the world that one of his friends passed away. Like they were very, very close friends, completely like, there's no reason they would have ever been friends, but they were. And then the best part about all of it is I do the best imitation of my grandfather of anyone. So, as soon as is that your, okay.
He's asking you to do it.
You can't say it.
All right. You know what, Jabba, let's bring it full circle. There has never been a greater abomination than Jabba Chamberlain, surrounded by midgets trying to throw a pitch through a veritable swarm. That is unconscionable. They should call the game, get themselves some bug spray, and give the man a chance to pitch.
Very good.
That was great.
That does sound like him. That's pretty.
And that's me with a cold. I'm like, this is me on like 50%. I'm doing my best. I drank an emergency. I was just like, I gotta buck up for this. And then I saw what your background was, and I have the same background. I'm like, oh, for Christ's sake. And then I saw he's got a Rangers hat. I'm like, I'm wearing a Rangers jersey. Like, this is just, I feel like such a sham.
Just so you know, Colin, before I came into the studio, I'm sitting here, and Speedy, his hair is like, he looks like a hick. Okay. This guy hasn't cut his hair in like 3 months.
It looks like
And
his hat got ran over before he
it
put it
does,
on.
because you know why? Because on the top of that's all his hair. It's like growing. It looks like a mushroom coming out of his hat.
It looks like a hat that comes out of a hockey player's bag. I was a hockey goalie. By the way, shout out to Eddie Lack. That dude back in 2015 helped me win my fantasy hockey league.
That's what I'm saying.
I
He was
picked him up
awesome in Vancouver.
in January of 2015, and he went on a hot streak, and he helped me win my my league. So Eddie Lack, if you're still listening, or if you're selling a house right now, whatever
He's
you're
selling
doing,
a house.
thank you.
Eddie's a good friend of the show, and Eddie loves coming on the show because we have a lot of fun with him. He's beating. Last time he was on the show, I'm not going to say it. If you watch the other show, I did something crazy, and he couldn't stop laughing. He almost fell off. He almost stopped driving because he almost threw up. So it was pretty funny. But nevertheless, it's so funny. We've never had you on the show. And a good friend and a very close friend of you, actually knows you very, very well, and you know him, Anthony Andriosi. You know who he is?
Yeah.
Yeah, Anthony's a good friend of mine. Now,
No kidding.
Anthony's a very close friend of mine, and Anthony told me some stories about you, and
shit.
said that, you're one of the most down to earth people he's ever met. And Anthony obviously lives in Queens. He's now, he's running his own mixed martial arts corporation. Right? I don't know if you know this. He's doing some big things right now. And I actually DJ'd a couple of his events, really going out there and helping him out at some of his events. But how do you guys know each other? Tell us a little quick story about how you met Anthony.
So, this is really funny. So I had been working for a local network called MSG Varsity. We covered high school sports and the high school experience in the tri-state area. That's where I won my Emmys. And that's kind of where I cut my teeth as a sports broadcaster and producer and narrator and all these different things. And the network just abruptly, that also Steve Gelbs, who's the sideline reporter for SNY, we used to broadcast together, ironically enough. And then he moved on to bigger and better things. Meanwhile, I thought, with 3 Emmys and like all these things on my resume, I was going to make it. I was going to get hired. And alas, that was not meant to be. All these other networks were hiring kids out of Syracuse, and they're like, well, they're young and cheap and safe. And I'm like, what do you mean safe? They're like, your last name's Cosell. We know what safe means. I'm like, all right, that's fair. So I was kind of looking for work, and I'm an avid dart player. I'm heavily into darts. And I was playing for my buddy's bar in Astoria, Queens, 2 blocks away from where I was living at the time. And one night he sent me a text, and he's like, hey, can you come bartend for me tonight? I'm really shorthanded. And I was like, sure. And he was like, you bartended before? And I was like, yeah, of course I have. But here's the thing. No, I hadn't. So I was just like, fake it till you make it. We're going to get through this. So I went and I bartended for him. Long story, even longer. I built up a really great crowd there, got poached by another bar that a friend of mine owned that was a darts bar in Lower Manhattan in the East Village on corner of 13th and Avenue A, and started working for them on Friday nights. And that Friday night was like enough money to like pay rent and so on. Ended up becoming a manager there. So through this bar, I met, now I'll include Anthony in this as well, 2 of the most important people, and then Anthony, that I've ever met in my life. One was a server they had just hired, who was an actress who had just moved to the city. And so a lot of these people, they end up getting national tours, and they go across the country and they do whatever. That person they hired is now my wife, and her name is Julia. She is the mother of our beautiful, almost 19-month-old daughter, Eloise. And the other person was a regular who had just started at the New York Mets as the head of he was the executive producer of like in-game marketing promotions and like events and stuff. We became good friends, and I told him about my pedigree, and I was like, if you ever hear of a job, let me know. Whatever, it's who you know, not what you know. And he's the person who ended up telling me the Mets were looking for a PA announcer. He said, give me your demo tape. I'll put it in the right hands, and then it's a blind audition. Doesn't matter who you are, what you've done. They're doing this blindly. So those are the first two, my wife and the man who ended up becoming my boss. And then the third one was my first hire, Anthony Andriossi. We hired him as a bartender. My boss at the time, the owner of the bar, Paul, who's a proper Irishman, was just like, "What have you done? Look at him. He's massive. You suppose he should be a bouncer, not a bartender." And I was just like, "Trust me, Paul, he's gonna be just fine." He actually, I think, for years thereafter, ended up working for Paul's actual like company that makes him money, not in bartending. But yeah, that's how I know Anthony. I hired him to be a bartender.
See this? It goes around in a circle. It's a circle.
And the best part is he bullied me into it. He was just, it was like Jedi mind tricks, and he was bigger than me, and he worked in MMA, and he was just like, "No, I'm the right guy for the job." And I was just like, "You are the right guy for the job." And it was just like, and everyone looked at me like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know. We'll put him on the slow shifts. Don't leave me alone." But yeah, Anthony, gem of a human being. Absolutely love him.
He's listening right now. He's loving it. He's loving it. I'm sure he is.
Colin, you mentioned Jedi mind tricks. When we had Jabba on the show about 3 months ago as a guest, Errol tried to get him to see if he ever saw Star Wars, and he never did. Yet his name is Jabba.
Here's the crazy story about me and Jabba. Just Jabba's been on the show twice, and when we had Jabba on the second time, I said, "Jabba, where did you get your name?" And he says, I said, "I know how you got your name. You got it from Jabba the Hutt." He looked at me. He's like, "Who the hell is Jabba the Hutt?" I was like, "You never seen Star Wars?" And he's like, "No, I've never seen. I've heard of it. I've never seen it." So I said, "Hey, Jabba, I tell you what. I said, I'll pay for wherever you can get it. The Prime, wherever you get it, I'll pay for it. I'll cash app it to you. And you have to watch all 3 of these episodes." He told me he watched the first episode all the way through. He got to the second one and he says, "F this. I'm not watching any more of this crap."
He never get to Empire.
It was, Colin, you got to realize, like, I was fat, I wore glasses, and my name was Jabba. It's not the first movie I'm probably going to watch. Because it's like, "Oh, name's Jabba, like Jabba the Hutt." And I was like, I just got so tired of hearing it. I'm just like, I never got into it. I mean, I tried. I was like, I will give you the best I got. And so, yeah, I gave it the best I could. And I was just like, all right. And then I was like, all right, I went back and I was like, okay, give it another shot. See if you can get through this one and then get to 3, or the third one that you told me to watch. Because he gave me the order and all the other stuff. And I was like, I won't lie to you. I'll give it a go.
He did.
But I've never ever seen a second of Star Wars until then.
First of all, I love the preface. I was fat and wore glasses. I'm like, that means you have been to every Comic-Con across the country by societal standards.
Yeah, I just need a cool outfit though to go.
That just passed. My cousins went there. You should see how crazy these people are. Yeah. I tell you, some of the costumes are ridiculous. They look like
imagine how much money they spend on some of those.
Oh my God.
I wonder where they get it. Like, where are they getting that money from?
Their parents. They live at home. I mean,
some
of these kids are really intelligent. I mean, they're geeks. They're computer geeks. My cousin is like a genius. Like, he's going to nursing school just to have fun with it. He doesn't even need to. I mean, the kid doesn't even study. He's like in top of his class. Those people are just, you should have saw his outfit. I mean, he dressed up as, I forget who it was. It was some superhero. It looked just like the superhero from the cartoon. It was unbelievable. So how the F did you put this together?
And I bet
this and I did that.
His LinkedIn is just, intelligent savant. Just,
I coded my parents' basement.
Yeah. Which, I mean, you're going to make money for the rest of your life if you're able to do it, and everyone needs an outlet.
He's Jabba Chamberlain. He Jabba rules, baby. Jabba rules.
I remember that.
Now
Jabba, how did you handle that? Like, what was that like as a player? Sorry to suddenly take over like this is my show. What was it like to have those rules in place, and did you have any voice in it?
No, I didn't have any say in it. It kind of just happened. We all, I mean, as Yankees fans, we all knew how Torrey managed a bullpen, and so that was kind of the thought process, because I'd never thrown out the bullpen before, but I spent 2.5 months in the minor leagues. I just got drafted. Like, I have no say. Like, I'm just happy to get to the big leagues. I'd have folded towels and cleaned the bathrooms if they said I could be in the big leagues that fast, let alone pitch. And so, yeah, I didn't really have any say. It was kind of just, they sat me down and they're like, hey, if you pitch 1 inning, you're off 1 inning. If you pitch 2 innings, you're off 2 innings. And I would come in the dugout and Joe would be like, can you pitch? And I'm like, yeah, I can, but it ain't up to me. So he would call up, and at the old stadium, the suite looked directly into the dugout so they could see. And he would call up there and they'd be like, no, but he tried probably 90% of the time. But yeah, I didn't make $1 off those shirts either.
Whoa. So there's 2 things that I have like questions about. Like, first of all, what kind of a baller move is it to make sure the owner's suite can look directly in the dugout? And 2, like, what kind of BS is that you're not making any money off of those shirts?
Well, it was just some random person. And then, because they said they came in, I don't remember what paper or what it was that said, there's like, yeah, these are the Java rules, blah, blah, blah. And so then somebody just ran with it. And then I think, it was Modell's. So I did indirectly make, because I ended up signing with Modell's. But yeah, other than that, I didn't get any royalties off those shirts whatsoever.
That's insane. That's incredible. And the funny thing is, like, earlier this summer, I did a panel discussion with Doc Gooden, and he was a pretty good pitcher. But at one point in his career, he came out of the bullpen, and I said, like, the mentality of being a starter versus bullpen versus closer, all 3 are very, very different. Was that something you like had to change mentally for you, like coming out of the bullpen, or was it just like, this is my job and I'm just going to do it no matter what?
Well, I've kind of pitched in every situation. So, I mean, you just, first of all, you go out and try to execute pitches. But I mean, obviously there's leverage innings, there's, getting stops, there's starting and trying to get your team as deep as you can. Yeah, they're very different mentalities in the aspect of, understanding the situation, not trying to define you're up 5 runs. Don't give up a walk and then 2-run homer. And now we got a game. Like, if they hit a homer, if they hit a solo homer, great. Like, that's not going to beat you, but don't beat yourself. And then in high leverage situation, it was always different for me because I literally, my heart would speed up when I knew I was going to go in. But as soon as the doors opened, like, that's when everything slowed down for me. And it was just easier, like, in those leverage situations. Because when I started, I didn't know it was going to be every 5 days, if it was going to be every 8 days, 10 days. I didn't know. And then in the bullpen, I know I had some consistency. And so that was the only thing I really wish I would have had more of, is just the consistent factor of, they wanted to hold my innings back and, oh, he doesn't want to get hurt. Well, I ended up with a scar anyways. So how'd that work out for you?
Right.
So, yeah, it's just, as we're talking full circle.
There you go. Circle. It's a circle.
My first ever time on the DL was for his shoulder, and my son's got to go get an MRI to see.
Come on, stop jinxing him, Jabba. We were just talking about.
Hey, we're talking full circle. I mean, you got to talk about it. Good end. First of all, he was talking about his great grandfather, talking about one of his best friends.
You don't want to jinx your son. Stop.
No, I'm not going to jinx my son. It's just
let's pray. Let's pray.
Let's play the cards you're dealt.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, it was a lot of ups and downs, good and bad. And it's still cool being retired this long and people still argue about it. So I must have did something all right.
I appreciate you indulging me. By the way, you're listening to Sports Loudmouth with Colin Cosell. My guest tonight is Jabba Chamberlain. I'm also joined by Speedy Petey and Errol Marks. Coming up soon, we've got, oh, wait a second, more graphics. Errol, are you regretting the fact that you asked me on the show, or is this?
That's so relative to everything we just said.
It most certainly is. Your graphics department, although rudimentary, is right on top of it.
That's Fish, by the way, our executive producer. He's fantastic.
God bless you, Fish.
He's back to laughing.
He'll send that to you. Don't worry.
I would rather he didn't. I too can use clip art. I don't. It was good in the moment, but thank you, Fish. You're still a legend in my eyes.
Yeah, look, you just heard it. Colin Cosell just called you a legend, Fish. I mean, that you should pat yourself on the back right there. I mean, but besides the panty dropping that Jabba was getting when he was a pitcher, man. I mean, he was getting a lot of panty dropping, right, Jabba? Yeah,
I did okay. I did all right.
You were a fat kid with big glasses from Nebraska, and then you were pitching for the Yankees, and you were striking out David Ortiz. Who's better than you?
And I only made it with one kid still. And I had him before I got to the big leagues. I had him when I was a junior in college.
Well, didn't you get your tubes tied?
Yeah, and I did other things that prevented it as well.
This conversation has taken quite a turn.
Ask Speedy, he knows.
Speedy
It was
knows
bound to happen eventually, Colin. Unfortunately.
No, I'm here for it. I'll be on next week too.
Well,
Let's
He
do
likes
this.
he likes dogs when he bends over.
He does.
Oh, God.
And he also likes the big corn, right, Speedy?
No, that's Java. Java and Eddie
No.
Lack are the big corn guys.
You like corn dogs?
I do.
Yeah.
But that has
How long do you like
doesn't
your
have
corn
real
dogs?
corn in it.
How long do you like your corn dogs?
Again, it depends on how hungry I am.
I've got a really important question.
Speedy After Dark.
Speedy, got all that hair. Does the carpet match the curtains?
Not the same color.
Okay.
And no.
Yeah, that's a simple no.
Yeah, that's
We didn't know the details. Let's just
Yeah,
make it a simple
it's-
question.
you had an easy out there. It was yes or no. The details need not apply.
I'm gonna have a heart attack on this show.
Oh,
Yeah,
starting
you just
to
had a heart
sweat.
operation today.
No, I didn't have a heart operation. I had an echogram, and I'm going to probably have to have one.
We need to start this.
We don't need OnlyFans. Absolutely, we have
God.
to do this. Look at this. I mean,
Don't fall for
Colin,
spam
wouldn't
sites.
you apply for this, man? Come on, look at this.
Don't fall for the spam sites, Colin.
How do I put this lightly? No.
Good job. Yes, join
do
the
I-
movement. I like it. You're guest number 3 that's officially joined the movement. I like it.
Yeah, you have to watch the show to even know why we do this. But Speedy is one unique individual, Colin. There's no question.
And it has nothing to do with anything like that.
There's a
No.
lot of things.
You had me at the hat.
You sure? You didn't have you at hello?
We were just starting to get to know each other. I'm still under the weather. It's a lot of things going on right now, Earl. I'm doing the best I can, man. I'm just listen. The wound is still fresh. We're not even a full week removed from the Mets being eliminated. I'm doing everything I can.
Well,
I
look
was
at the
trying to
bright
cover
side.
Pumpkin with my daughter, for Christ's sake. I don't know what's happening right now.
Look, Colin, look on the bright side. You have Speedy, he's a Met fan, and Mikey over here, he's a Met fan. So you got two guys that are Met fans, and it's just me and Jabba, you know?
Here's the crazy thing about this postseason run, and I think this is kind of universal, and it blew my mind. Somehow it was kind of like Rocky IV. Like somehow we got everyone on our side by the end. Fish, I am counting on you to put, I don't know. Let's put Francisco Lindor on Dolph Lundgren's face at the end of Rocky IV. When finally the Cold War was ended by Rocky Balboa, when he said, "If yous can change and I can change, then we can all change." But literally, like, it felt like the world was backing us for the first time ever. Like, people were like, yeah, this is a fun Mets team. So it really didn't matter. Like, it felt universal that people are like, yeah, all right, if the Mets make it, that's cool. Not like, ugh, these guys. You know what I mean? Like, that's how deep the vibes ran.
Well, I will say this, and if you're a Met fan, you should be excited for next year. I think they have a very good future. I think Mark Vientos, I think, is a very good hitter, and I think he has a great future moving forward for the New York Mets. What a find for the New York Mets. And that was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, who was that drafted him, Speedy?
I thought it was Brody. I don't remember offhand.
I think it was Brody.
I think it was as well. And Brett Beatty was supposed to be our third baseman.
Yes.
And he just couldn't figure it out. And they're like, all right, well, we'll get the bat. Meanwhile, Vientos on the back end was he and Alvarez working their tails off to just be better at their craft, at their position.